Hi, Carl here for ProAV TV, and this is 5 reasons why our customers choose the Sony FS7 MKII. The FS7 is pretty much the most widely used camera in the industry right now, especially when it comes to areas such as TV and broadcast, that sort of use. Every sort of jobbing cameraman in that sort of environment has used one. Every producer is used to booking them, they know what they are. Because of that, we see this one get used a lot and sort of chosen by owner-operator cameramen looking to get work in TV and broadcast because they need kit that people are familiar with. They need kit that their clients are going to recognize and that's going to be a safe option for them when they're hiring them. So the FS7 definitely fits the bill here. The reason that it's so popular is because of its sort of form factor and the specs list in it. It's got an intra-frame codec, it's got 4K 50p, it hits a lot of the tick points when it comes to the internal specifications. That's a large reason why it is so popular right now. Probably my favourite feature on the FS7 MKII is something that it actually inherited from the FS5, and that's the variable ND filter. The minute you swing this from clear down to one of the NDs, an electronic screen drops down in front of your sensor, and then you can change exactly how much ND is being applied to it. So rather than traditional cameras which may have several optical filters of different strengths that swing down, this is just one electronic filter which you can change the brightness of. What this means is that you get slightly more ND than you normally do with optical filters because it can go slightly darker, but also it changes the way that you expose when you're outside. You can have, as long as you're outside in bright sunlight, you can have your aperture set to exactly what you want it to be for shallow depth of field or deep depth of field, depending on what creatively you want for your shot. You can have your ISO set to be where it should be at the native ISO, which on this is fairly high. And you can have your shutter speed set to the 180-degree rule. So you're not changing any of those 3 things, which is what we'd normally be changing to change our exposure. Instead, you're riding it entirely on this wheel here and changing the amount of ND that's being applied. Because you can make such fine adjustments, you really can nail your exposure using only your ND. It's one of my favourite features. I really do think it should be on pretty much every camera out there. Once you've shot with it outside, it really is hard to go back to shooting with a camera without it. It's such a fantastic feature. The shoulder-mounted design of the FS7 was one of the things that first set it apart from its competitors when the camera was first released. If you look at all the competitors' cameras like the C300, C200, the EVA 1, or even Sony's own FS5, none of them have this shoulder-mounted design. So if you're used to having cameras like ENG-style cameras, the cameras like that, anything that's designed to go on your shoulder, this is going to feel very at home for you. Straight out of the box, you can just whack it on your shoulder. It's got a built-in little shoulder pad underneath it. It's got an arm included. It's got a loop included like this. Obviously, you can swap these all out for third-party accessories to make it a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more flexible, a little bit better optics in here, that sort of thing. But it all works straight out of the box and it's ready to go without any fuss. I think this is a big part of what made this camera so popular. So the lens mount that Sony use is the Sony E-mount. You can see it here. It's a very, very short flange distance mount. It's actually only 18 millimeters between the sensor and the optical plane of the camera and the lens mount. This means that it can be adapted to pretty much any camera lens out there. Whether you've got lenses from Canon, Nikon, you've got PL lenses, you've got old vintage lenses, any of those, you can put them on this camera as long as you've got the right adapter. Because it's such a short flange distance, all those lenses are designed to be placed about here away from the sensor, and so you've got plenty of space between where the end of the lens is and the lens mount on the camera in order to place that adapter, and that's how it can be adapted to this. We've got a lot of customers using Canon EF glass in particular, but also things like PL lenses, stuff like that. A lot of people have glass as a long-term investment. They want to be able to use it on pretty much any camera system that they want. And Canon EF and PL lenses are fantastic choices for that because they've got such long flange distance on the lens. You can use it with pretty much any camera out there. But because the flange distance is so short on the Sonys, particularly like this FS7 Mark II, you can adapt it to pretty much anything out there. Another huge benefit of that shallow flange distance that we talked about in the previous point is the ability to use one of these. This is a Metabone's speed booster, or what's technically called a focal reducer. It's basically a lens adapter that goes between Canon EF mount and the E mount on the FS7, but what it does is it's got optics inside it to shrink a full frame lens down to cover only the Super 35mm sensor inside the FS7. So optics that take a large image that's projected from a full frame lens, it has to be full frame lenses, and then shrinks that down onto a smaller sensor. What that does is it makes each lens a little bit wider, it makes each lens a little bit sharper because it's capturing more detail, and it makes each lens a little bit faster because they're getting all of the light that the lens can capture in. So you're effectively getting wider, sharper, and faster lenses just by having this little adapter. It really does make such a difference and gives an almost full frame look to cameras like this. So if you're using an FS7 and you've got Canon EF glass, or you want to buy some Canon EF glass, I really recommend getting full frame lenses and a speed booster. It makes such a difference. Okay, so that's what we think are the most common reasons that people end up choosing the FS7 Mark II. Do you own the FS7s? Why did you choose it? Let us know in the comment section down below, and if you think we've missed anything, of course, let us know. If you've got any more questions about the camera, either contact our sales team or leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.